Everyone to TVOSJ, the voice of San Joaquin, right here off the Miracle Mile in Stockton, California. Looks to me like we're having a little bit of audio. Okay, I think it may be working, and if not, we'll know afterwards. So again, welcome to your community radio station right here off the Miracle Mile, called the Voice of San Joaquin. It is now time for Darius Oliver, Divine Numerology.
Hello, this is Darius with Divine
Darius.
Numerology, and we are talking about all things related to the numbers, the world of numbers, the world of the esoteric, everything that ranges from that which is seen to that which is yet to be seen. And we have some awesome guests with us on the show today, which I'll introduce in a moment. One thing that I want to talk about today before we begin is the number of the day. So I'm going to talk about the number of the day and the significance that it has. And today is the 1st of November, also known as the Day of the Dead, or for the celebration. And the thing about November, the 1st of November, it's the number one. So it's always, number one is really good for starting new things, launching new ideas and projects. Although a lot of us are being a bit more careful at this time because we're in Mercury retrograde. It just started officially as of today. So, but anything that within that time frame, within that frame of reference of retrograde, it's really good to review things, plan things, not necessarily launch things that are of a big, gigantic nature. But the way that this particular one energy can be used, if there's something, see, when Mercury retrograde happens, you can't just put life on hold. But in the case where there's things that have to be done, if you have to choose a day for it to be done and it needs to be something new starting, at least choose the number one. And we're in a really good time for that as well because we just had a new moon on the 28th. On the 28th of October. And so we have a lot of the favorable energies. This one is all, we got that magician from the tarot, for those of you who follow tarot. And the magician is all about willpower. One is about initiation and new things and beginnings, and the magician is using our will to make things happen, to will something into existence. And one is the number of immediate things happening immediately, quickly, instant. If you ever get the number one that pops up in the divination, it means something that happens very quickly. And the number one is, when in divination, it's also affirmative answer. It's always a yes. For those of you who would ever try this out, there's some people that use a certain method of divination called prasna marga. It's an Indian style of divination coming from Vedic astrology. But if you look at the time of asking, when you ask a question and you look at the time, if you add the time and it comes out to a number one, then that is an affirmative answer to the question. So you can get little things like that. Now, if it adds up to 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, message me and we'll talk about that. But you always know that 1 is affirmative and it is a positive answer. So this particular energy, having the 1 with November, the 11th month, this is a master number month. This is a very strong energy, which is why a lot of big things tend to happen during this month. And for this particular year, we're in a universal 3 year. So we have this 3 with November the 11th and November the 1st. I'm already getting ready for 11/11 day. But November the 1st, you got this 11 plus 1, that's 12. And then you add it to the year, which is also 12. And you have that you get the number 24 comes out to 6, which is vision and acceptance, love, responsibility, duties, family, nurturing. It's also the 6th card of the deck, which is the Lover's card. So some of you out there are going to be making a choice, because the original meaning of the Lover's card is the choice. And the card, the Lovers, is representing also the sign of Gemini. So it's really emphasizing a lot of communication here, a lot of new things, new beginnings related to communication and certain choices. The Lovers indicates a split or a fork in the road, taking, one or the other action. And so we have that particular energy. Another energy we have with this day is 24, since the sum total of today's date comes out to that. The 24th card in the tarot is the Queen of Wands, which is known as one of the greatest witches in the deck. Why? Is because the Queen of Wands combines the fire from the wands, the fire element, and then the water, because the Queen is also always associated with the water in the tarot. So you have fire and water, which creates steam and is perfect for manifestation, the mixture of water and fire, alchemy, which also goes down to this day, which is the Magician, who has all 4 elements on the table in front of him when he's about to perform his magical workings. So this is a really, really, really auspicious day for things like that, especially the fact that Mercury retrograde started, and it started on the 1st, because the Magician, that card represents the planet Mercury. It represents the planet Mercury. And which is just very interesting how that lines up. So that is a little bit about the number of the day, for you guys. And I want to introduce our guests. We have 2 lovely guests here today, and we're going to have a nice, you're going to be listening to a little bit about their experience and whatever that they feel like sharing, with us. We're very happy to have you guys here. Cindy and Greg Adams, thank you for being on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Definitely. And for those of you who don't know, I actually met Cindy right here at Southern Exposure on Miracle Mile, and one of the hairdressers there introduced us because of having things in common with relation to spiritual, concepts and ideas, similar ways of looking at the world. And so we met, and there was, we just started talking, because she asked me about this right here, Metatron's cube, this pendant, and then also you showed me yours, Cindy. What will you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The pendant that we were looking at is called the Cosmic Angel. And like yours, it's very bright. There's a lot of sparkly color here. We've got purple, gold, and turquoise. And then on the back of it, it's very grounding. This stone is obsidian.
Nice.
So it's both vibrating and grounding.
Awesome. So what does obsidian do for people?
Obsidian is a sort of a lower dense energy, and it helps to ground you and connect you with the earth energies. Help you be more grounded and more present.
Awesome. I heard that for people who are very empathic, it helps as a protection stone. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. I enjoy wearing the obsidian, and normally also hematite. I like to have maybe something on each hand or each wrist.
To balance out the
Right.
the
And when I'm
energies.
wearing this also, I've got the pendant in the center, and then a little obsidian and hematite on each side.
And so you said that particular design on there is resonating with the divine feminine?
Actually, it's called a cosmic angel.
Okay.
That's what it was called when I bought it. I found this in Sedona. I was very, very attracted to it. But the price was a little scary.
Wow, what was that?
I
You don't have to tell us.
remember exactly. It's just, I'm thinking, yeah, you know how it is. It's
Yeah.
maybe a little more than I want to spend. However,
This one too.
yeah, little did I know it had my name and number. It would not leave me alone. Energetically, this thing is like, hello, yo. You know how it is when you see something
Yep.
that you're attracted to
Definitely.
and you don't go with it? It does not leave your mind, right? I
Right.
continued to think about it. It was like when I literally walked away, went somewhere else, that's when I knew that I really should have bought it.
Could it just stayed in the mind?
Absolutely. So what happened? I went back and got it.
Wow, and it's improved. It's just helped and just it enriched life.
It really did. And you know what's amazing about this thing? When I'm wearing it, if I'm holding a baby or there's a baby near me, the babies are always absolutely mesmerized by it. It's like they can't take their eyes off it.
Wow. I remember you mentioned a little something like that.
Yeah.
The effect that it has on children. You think that they're receiving something from it when they're looking at it?
Yeah, babies are still real close to home. And what I think is that it probably attracts some higher energy beings. So I think it maybe
I
summons
would
some
think that's safe to
unseen
bet, yeah.
presence that the babies are very familiar with.
Wow.
And the feeling. That's sort of how it feels to me. Can't tell you for sure what's going on inside the baby, but if I were to say anything, it's almost like the reaction they have when they see it is like they saw something they recognize or someone they know, something familiar. Because
That
think
makes a lot
about
of
it,
sense.
before we're incarnated, everything's energy. If you were to look at me outside my body, I would probably look like the Aurora Borealis. We are
Right.
just a field of really awesome, sparkly colors. And that is what this is. It's awesome, sparkly colors.
Definitely. And it's got that sacred geometry.
Absolutely.
And the healing frequencies that come from sacred geometry, because whenever someone notices this, it tells me something about that person,
Metatron's cube, absolutely.
because not everyone comments on it,
Hmm.
but when they do, I'm like, okay, all right, let's talk. It's kind of like let me figure what is it that we're gonna talk about at that point. I'm like curious. Okay, this person's interesting. And then also, one of the very first things that you showed me, actually the second thing that you showed me, was Hathor, that pendant.
Okay. I think what you're referring to is the symbol of Isis alchemy
Okay.
that I wear around my neck.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's
that's
right.
what it is.
It's not Hathor.
It's Isis.
Yes. Thanks for that correction.
Sure.
So will you tell us a little bit about that symbolism, that meaning, that energy of that?
Basically what it looks like, I'm not able to see it because the chain is so short, but it is a red orb, and it symbolizes the sun. And what this is it is the symbol that you see above Isis's head. And I think that the other part that goes up above it might actually be cow's horns. I'm not 100% sure. But what it stands for, it is the symbol of Isis alchemy. So it is the process of changing. Alchemy changes something. And if you're looking in spiritual terms, I think what it does is it raises something to its highest vibration.
And that's the energy that's carrying when you're wearing it, and that's what people are feeling. What's so interesting about that? Go ahead, were you going to say something?
No.
What's so interesting about that is I saw a program that was talking about the first sun. And it spoke about Saturn being the first sun. And a really, really, really long time ago, that this sun that we have now is the second sun. And which is those what you refer to as the cow horns around that
Mm-hmm.
are actually representation, since you said sun, but it's representation of Saturn's rings.
Mm-hmm.
How it eventually, that sun became Saturn, the first sun. And so many, like in the music industry and in a lot of different places that use this particular symbol, especially at the Grammys, at the award ceremonies, on music videos of you'll see that. You'll see that Katy Perry did a music video a while back, and she used that symbolism. Even Kanye West used that symbolism on some of the statues. And this program was saying that was a part of commemorating Saturn and Saturn, all these things, especially in the music industry, and that influence.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a really interesting program, but when I see it, I'm like, wow, okay, like, because coming back with that background, I'm like, okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's, to me, it is symbolic of what I do.
And then there was something really awesome too, that when we first encountered, there was a particular insect. There's a particular insect,
Yeah.
and this insect has so much meaning for a lot of people around the world. Especially now. It's like whenever I have a little pendant, and whenever I wear this little pendant, I get some conversation topic. Somebody asks me, hey, what's that for? Why are you wearing that? And everyone's wondering, what's that insect? So what is that insect?
The insect was a dragonfly.
Ah, nice.
And what was so very cool about it is that, well, first of all, when you and I first met, we had so much in common we couldn't stop talking. We just
Right.
talked and talked and talked. I mean, everything we talked about led us to something else that was just totally cool. And I'm not sure if we actually knew that about the dragonfly the first time we met. I think it was symbolic to both of us, but what happened was you invited us to a meditation. And that particular day, the gentleman running the meditation uses a visual. He draws something on a board, and that particular day, he was just inspired to add a dragonfly. And I thought, well, that's really cool, especially when he said, I don't know why, I just drew this. And then the next place you invited me was to a Reiki share.
Right.
And there was a lady there who was selling these amazingly beautiful dragonfly pendants. And I remember it was kind of funny because I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. And you and I talked on the phone, and you said, I think you're supposed to be here. And I said, oh, really? And you said, yeah, because I just saw something.
Yep.
And it was a dragonfly. So what is so cool about a dragonfly? For one thing, it can alert us to the presence maybe of a loved one who has passed, who is, energetically in our presence. But the one thing that I think is amazing about a dragonfly is that it can go forward, it can go backward, or it can just hover right where it is. And it really reminds me of I can do the same. We can be present in the current moment in time, or we look backward in time, or we go forward in time. And then when you're looking at the work of a healer, especially working with shamanism, in the etheric field, you can literally go back and forth in time. You can send energy backwards and forward. And so in terms of my work, both the alchemy of the Isis pendant and the movement of the dragonfly symbolize what I do. And I sort of use these symbols to invoke the energies that I work with, if that makes sense.
Very, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Because I heard, and Greg, if you ever want to say anything, comment anything, feel free. Because I haven't been asking you any questions.
No, that's all right. But I just wanted to tell you that what
nice.
I wear is a vortex. And I received this actually from Cindy
Wow.
when we were up in Mount Shasta celebrating
Oh, wow.
the birth of Buddha, which happens every year. And this particular piece of art, a fellow named Jimmy had a booth. Jimmy.
What's the last
Oh, the one
Yes.
that I was telling you about, his name, he actually pronounces his name Jim-I, J-I-M-I, and his
Jimmy.
last name is I, E-Y-E.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's a-
All
So
right.
it's
Yeah,
Jim
that's right.
I. Yeah, he's a jeweler healer. Okay, Greg, go.
So Cindy and I were just drawn to his display, and as we picked out things for our kids, that was a little easier than picking out for each other. And but when I saw this, I immediately was drawn to it, and so as it turns out, we became instant, conversationalists with Jimmy, who was he had a special something about him that he was just a gentle, creative individual. However, he was very sensitive, and Adam, Cindy's son, had just left us, and we were sensitive to many feelings. And Jimmy picked up on that, and Cindy had purchased things. We got talking about it, and as it turned out, he said, well, by the way, before you leave, I bless all my jewelry. So let's hold hands, and we're going to bless all the jewelry you have. And Cindy had mentioned Adam why we were there, just trying to figure out some things in life
Wow.
that you wish you never have to deal with. And so Jimmy, we were all holding hands, and all of a sudden, both Cindy and I, we were in a circle like this, and I was looking at Jimmy, and Cindy was looking at Jimmy, and his eyes turned. And then Cindy shook like this, and I watched his eyes turn, and he said, Adam's inside me.
Ooh, interesting.
And we were just mesmerized.
Her
And
son,
because-
Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Actually, I had not yet told him. I hadn't told him that I had lost a son at the time he offered to bless the jewelry.
Oh.
yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah. When he offered to bless the jewelry, I said, before we start, I should let you know I lost a son in January. And we were standing in the form of a triangle, kind of like how we are now. Greg and I and Jimmy are holding hands. And as soon as I said that, now this is, seriously, this is the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. It was like a special effect in a movie. And if I hadn't had a witness, I would have found a way to talk myself out of the fact that it happened. Jimmy was of similar height, build, coloring, and stature as my son Adam.
Wow.
And what happened was, I'm looking directly into his eyes the same way I'm looking at yours right now. Jimmy's brown eyes became lighter until they were more of a golden brown like yours, which is the color of Adam's. And then his eyelids became thicker, and his irises got a little bigger until I am literally looking in my son's eyes that are in Jimmy. And I said, what I said to him was, I should let you know that I lost a son in January. And then as his eyes changed, he said to me, I know. He said, he's in me now. And there I'm looking face to face, eye to eye with my son.
Wow.
Blew my mind. And you know what? This is what we do as human beings. We experience miracles and crazy stuff like this all the time. And then as soon as it's over, we start talking ourselves out
And
of
didn't
it
you
that it
say
didn't
that
happen.
you saw, and then Greg was right there, and you
He
said,
was
"Hey,
right there.
you didn't
I
look."
said to him, I was afraid to look away. I couldn't break eye contact with Jimmy without breaking the contact because I was afraid if I even blinked at him would go away. I mean, I'd lost my son 4 months earlier, okay? He was gone. And now he's looking at me through this guy. Jimmy has an amazing story of his own. There's a very good reason why he could hold these energies and what made him special. But, so I said to Greg, are you seeing what I'm seeing? And he said, yes. Okay, so when this thing is all over and we say goodbye to Jimmy, soon as I start walking away, the doubt is setting in.
Wow.
And this is what I said. I said to myself, Adam, if that was really you, then I want another hug. And I got about 10 feet away, and Jimmy says, hey. And I turned around. He goes, come back. I got to give you another hug. Yeah, that happened. That happened. I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that was an experience beyond your normal everyday occurrence at a spiritual conference. And it just got better after that.
You know, ever since then, we've had many, many interesting, similar experiences. And let me also remind all of us here that this event took place in Mount Shasta, which is a vortex. It's
Wow, of course.
it's the root
Yeah, of
chakra of Mother Earth. Okay, so we've got, these amazing vibes. And then the occasion was the Wesak Festival, which was celebrating the birth of the Buddha. So you've got healers, you've got, all these special people in one place, and we're there in Mount Shasta. So basically you've just got these amazing energies, and which is why these incredible things can take place, right? These high vibe things need high vibe energies in which to manifest. So the circumstances were just right for my son to come in and say, like, hey, Mom. And I learned later that the reason it happened was, well, first of all, because Jimmy could hold the energies, but it was a combination of my desire to see my son and his desire to say hello, to make his presence known to us. And it could have never, ever have happened if Jimmy wasn't able to hold those energies.
And if you were not receptive to receive it.
That's another thing that I learned.
And so,
You're not going to experience miracles if you don't believe in it. You've got to believe in it for it to happen.
right. And thank you. I would love to continue this. I know everybody wants to hear the rest of the story because there's much more. But we will have to save that for a future episode, guys, because we are out of time. But I would like to thank you both. I would like to thank Cindy and Greg for being on the show, for being here with us and sharing, giving us this little introduction into you and what you do in your work. And, at another time, we'll definitely go more into these types of things. Not to go too much into it, but for those of you who didn't know this, Cindy actually has her own show too. And she has, just like myself, been on a hiatus, working on other projects, taking care of some other things. And so that's why we're really glad to have her on and have both her and Greg on. So thank you, guys. Everyone have an awesome weekend. This is Darius with Divine Numerology and Cindy and Greg. Peace.